Hello everyone, I am Vigneshwari. I am working as the assistant professor in Build Multitech Engineering College. Today we are going to see about the topic web client and web server. A web client and a web server are essential components of the client-server architecture. They communicate using the HTTP or HTTPS. HTTPS means Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It's facilitating the delivery and rendering of web content. Web client is typically a browser that sends request to the server and it displays the server's responses, including web pages, images, and other resources. For example, Chrome, Firefox. Functions of web client, it sends HTTP request to the server. Next, receives and renders HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It executes client-side script. For example, JavaScript stores temporary data, for example, cookies, sessions. It provides a user interface for interaction. Web server. A web server is a software application that receives HTTP requests from clients and responds with web content like HTML pages, media, etc. Popular web servers: Apache HTTP server, Node.js based servers, etc. Next thing is functions of web server. It listens for incoming HTTP or HTTPS request. It locates and serves the requested resource like static or dynamic. Next thing is it handles server-side scripting. Web client means it handles client-side scripting. Web server means it handles server-side scripting. Example, PHP, Python. Next thing is it logs activity and errors. It manages user sessions and authentication. Client-server communication. Process for the client-server communication is user enters a URL or clicks a link. Web client sends an HTTP request to the server. Server processes the request and returns an HTTP response. Web client renders the response on the browser. So, platform web client for web client, browser for web server, hosting environment, language support for web client, HTML, CSS, JS for web server, PHP, Python, Node.js, Java. Execution for web client is on user device. For web server is on the server machine. The purpose of the web client is UI rendering, user interaction. Next, for web server is data storage, business logic. Communication. In the web client side, it sends requests. In the web server side, it sends responses. Example of client-server interaction. There are 3 examples. First thing is static page. Second example, dynamic content. Third, API call. First, client request about.html. Server responds with static HTML file. Example 2, dynamic content. Client submit login form. If client submit login form, server processes login using a backend script and responds with a success or failure message. Third example is API call. API application programming interface call. JavaScript fetches data from server via or API or products. Server responds with JSON data. HTTP request and HTTP response. So HTTP request, first of all, HTTP is the foundation of communication between a web client and a web server. It works on a request response model. HTTP request means a message sent from the client to the server asking for a specific resource or service like a web page, image or data. That is HTTP request. So components of one HTTP request is request line, headers, request body. So request line, it specifies the HTTP method, the resource URL and the HTTP version. Headers, it provides additional information like browser type, content types, host info, etc. Body, request body is optional. It contains data sent to the server. Example, form inputs. Request example in this get is the get index.html HTTP 1.1 is the request line. This is the structure of the request line. Here, request line specifies the HTTP method, the resource URL and the HTTP version. And get is the HTTP method. Index.html is the requested URL. HTTP 1.1 is the HTTP version. Next, host www.example.com, user agent Mozilla 5.0. It comes under the headers. So headers means it provides the additional information, browser type, content type, source information, etc. So accept text HTML, it also comes under the header type. It also comes under the header type. So request methods. There are different request methods: get, post, put, delete, add. Get request data used for reading resources. Post, it submit data to the server like form. Put, update your resource. Put helps to update your resource. Delete a resource. Yet similar to get, but returns only headers. HTTP response. HTTP response is a message sent from the server to the client containing the status of the request and the requested content if successful. So components of an HTTP response is status line, headers, body. Status line includes the HTTP version, status code and the recent phrase. Headers, it contains the meta information like content type, caching rules, etc. Body is actual content. This is the example for HTTP response. HTTP 1.1200, okay. It is the status line. So here, status line includes the HTTP version, status code and recent phrase. So HTTP 1.1 is the HTTP version, 200 is the status code, OK is the recent phrase. Content type text HTML. Is the meta information. So next HTML body welcome. So it comes under the actual. It is the actual content. It is the actual content. Next thing is common HTTP status codes. The code. These are the codes. 200 okay. 200 OK means successful response. 301 means it moved permanently. URL is changed. It means URL is changed. 400 bad request. 401 is unauthorized. 403 forbidden. 404 not found. 500 means internal server error. If server failed to process request. 200 OK means successful response. 301 means URL has changed. 400 means client side error. 401 is authentication required. 403 means client not allowed to access resource. 404 not found means resource not found. 500 internal server meaning is server failed to process a request. So protocol. TCP/IP. The full form for TCP/IP is Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. TCP ensures a reliable transmission. IP handles addressing. It comes under the type transport network. HTTP full form is Hypertext Transfer Protocols. The functions of the HTTP is transfers web pages between client and server. HTTPS is HTTP secure. The function of HTTPS is secure HTTP using SSL or TLS encryption. SSL is secure socket layer. TLS means transport layer security. It comes under the type application. FTP means file transfer protocol. The function of FTP is it transfers files with the computer on a network. It comes under the type application. Next, SMTP. SMTP full form is simple mail transfer protocol. It sends emails from client to server. It comes under the type application. POP3. POP3 is Post Office Protocol V3. The function of this, it downloads emails from server to client. It comes under the type application. Next protocol, IMAP. IMAP is Internet Message Access Protocol. The function of IMAP is accesses and manages emails on the server. It comes under the type application. DNS, Domain Name System. The function of DNS is it translates domain name to IP address. It comes under the type application. Next thing is SSL or TLS. SSL full form is Secure Socket Layer. TLS full form is Transport Layer Security. It provides encrypted communication. It is used in HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, Secure, and email. It comes under the type security layer. These are the it provides SSL TLS. This protocol provides encrypted communications. It is used in HTTPS email. It comes under the type security layer. Thank you.